All right, good morning, folks. We're just going to do a few housekeeping things first. But I just want to make sure, just to make sure everybody has everybody's information. So first, I'm Public Information Sergeant Phil Krinsky. That's Philkrynskyi. And then our speakers today are going to include Arizona Attorney General Kris Mayes. That's going to be Krismayes. Interim Police Chief Michael Sullivan. That's Michaelsullivan. We're also going to have DA Special Agent in Charge Sherry Oz. That's spelled Cheroz. And then it's Arizona HIDTA Director Don Mertz. That's DAWNM, as in Mary, ERTZ. And finally, will be Phoenix Police Commander over the Drug Enforcement Bureau, Steve Martos. That's STEVEMARTOS. And he'll be taking questions and providing some insights regarding this operation. So just give me a few more minutes. I just want to make sure we got all that information for you guys. All right. Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank our partners, executive staff, command staff, members of the media, and members of our department for being here today. The purpose of this news conference is to provide information, photographs, and visuals regarding a large-scale enforcement operation. I would like to call up Chief Sullivan to start us off.
Thank you, Sarge. I appreciate you, and thank you to all our partners who are here with us today. I appreciate you being here with us. I want to be perfectly clear. We are losing too many community members to the fentanyl epidemic, and many of them are young folks. On average, 3 people a day die from a fentanyl overdose in Maricopa County. What you have in front of you just shows the amount that we're dealing with. The outcome of this operation is impressive, and it's a testament to the partnerships between local and federal police agencies and prosecutors. I'm so proud of the work being done by our Drug Enforcement Bureau. But what's really significant is the partnerships we have forged to take these deadly drugs off the street. Partners like the DEA, thank you, Sherry Oz. The AG's office, Attorney General Chris Mays, thank you. And the support of Arizona HIDTA, thank you, Don Mertz. Focusing on the fentanyl epidemic is one of the areas that I added to our crime plan over the last year, and the department has been doing just that. But when we come together in a multi-agency way with prosecutors standing by to hold people accountable, that's when we can really make a difference. We are stronger when we work together. And today, our community is safer. Now I'd like to bring up Attorney General Chris Mays.
Good morning, everyone. Today we are here to recognize the power of partnership, the strength of cooperation, and the dedication of law enforcement agencies working together to combat organized crime and drug trafficking. The success of this operation, as shown by the sheer volume of dangerous drugs seized, is a testament to what we can achieve when we work together to protect our communities. From April to November 2024, multiple agencies, including the Phoenix Police Department, the DEA, the Gila River Indian Community Police Department, and my office, joined forces in a complex investigation targeting an international drug ring and an expansive network of distributors. The joint efforts of Operation Double Down led to the dismantling of a vast network responsible for trafficking fentanyl, methamphetamine, heroin, and cocaine across Arizona's border with Mexico and into the rest of the United States. Arizona, as the chief just said, has become ground zero for the fentanyl crisis. More than half of all the fentanyl seized in the United States over the past several years was seized in Arizona. This crisis has devastated communities, torn families apart, and increased overdose deaths. This operation was not just about catching criminals, it was about disrupting organized crime through more than 2,000 hours of surveillance, hundreds of warrants and court orders, and months of investigation. Law enforcement officers identified and disrupted major players in this network, from cartel suppliers to local distributors. None of this would have been possible without cooperation. Law enforcement partnerships allowed intelligence to be shared across the country in this operation, leading to simultaneous arrests and seizures from Phoenix to New Mexico to Colorado. Their hard work, and again, this is the hard work of agents and prosecutors across multiple agencies. Their hard work and dedication resulted in the seizure of over 1.6 million counterfeit fentanyl pills, hundreds of pounds of narcotics, nearly $210,000 in illicit proceeds, and dozens of firearms, which you can see here, and vehicles used in criminal operations. The impact of this investigation extends far beyond those numbers and statistics. Every fentanyl pill seized is a life potentially saved. Every firearm recovered is one less tool of violence in the hands of criminals, and every dollar confiscated is money that will not be used by criminals to enrich themselves at the expense of Arizonans. This is the true power of partnership, working together to make our communities safer and stronger. Since taking office 2 years ago, I have made it a priority for my office to work in lockstep with federal law enforcement, the DEA, our amazing sheriffs, our amazing local police departments and agencies to investigate and prosecute international drug traffickers. Thank you to the electronic surveillance teams, highly special agents, experienced assistant attorneys general, several of whom are here with me today, the dedicated support staff from my office, and the K-9 units who contributed to the success of Operation Double Down and who work tirelessly to make Arizona a safer and more just place every day. And let us use this operation as a model for future collaboration. Let's continue to stand united against those who abuse our border to profit from addiction and destruction. The success of this operation is proof that when we work together, we can protect our communities from deadly drugs like meth and fentanyl. So thank you again, everyone, for being here who was involved in the operation. Thank you for your service and your dedication and your commitment to justice. Please stay safe, and let's continue working together to fight the cartels and uphold the rule of law. And now it's my very great honor to introduce DEA Special Agent in Charge, Sherry Oz. Sherry, come on up.
Thank you, Attorney General Mays. And it is my absolute honor and privilege to be here with you today. We're at a time in America where 42% of Americans know someone who has lost their life to fentanyl. And I believe we're at a time in America where 100% of us know someone who knows someone whose life has been tragically affected by fentanyl. This is a crisis that we are all trying our very best to do something about. The case that we detailed for you today is extraordinary. Our dedicated law enforcement officers built this case really from the ground up. And they used old-fashioned police work to expand the investigation to its fullest potential. The intelligence gathered provided a wealth of knowledge as to who was transporting the drugs, how they laundered their money, and investigators worked tirelessly to seize millions of potentially fatal doses of fentanyl. What you see before you are lives saved. These are the drugs that don't make it to your community, to your school, to your neighborhood, to your kids. These are their lives. And the thanks is to our agents, our detectives, and our prosecutors who work so very hard to keep you safe. These astounding seizures and numerous arrests were only possible because we doubled down on our partnerships and combined resources to protect you, your families, and our community. As leaders who stand before you today, we are law enforcement strong, working together like we never have before. We are united, and a united front that will relentlessly pursue those who threaten the safety of our neighborhoods, and that is evidenced in the results from this 7-month multi-agency investigation. I look forward to continuing our critical partnerships and working with those officers and agents and prosecutors who are dedicated to combating crime, violence, and the unprecedented drug threat facing our communities. The women and men of DEA remain vigilant and steadfast in our mission to protect the American people and bring criminals to justice. And I want to say one more thing. Arizona is not a great place to be a criminal. We, working together, are coming for you. We are tenacious, we are relentless, and we will not stop. And these partnerships bring people to justice and hold them accountable. And so now, with my last thing, I'd like to introduce our very good friend and great partner, Director Dawn Mertz.
Good morning. In our country, approximately 250 lives each day are lost to drug poisoning or overdose, destroying families and devastating every community in the United States. My name is Dawn Mertz, and I'm the Director of Arizona High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, also known as Arizona HIDTA. HIDTA is a grant program funded through the Office of National Drug Control Policy with the primary goal of bringing together law enforcement to disrupt and dismantle drug trafficking organizations across our country. Arizona HIDTA coordinates, supports, and provides funding for 25 drug task forces across Arizona and brings together 737 partners from 88 different agencies. These include federal, state, local, and tribal law enforcement organizations. The disruption of the drug trafficking organization we are speaking about today is the work of dedicated law enforcement professionals from the Phoenix Police Department, the Drug Enforcement Administration, Gila River Police Department, Homeland Security Investigations, the Joint Counter-Narcotics Task Force, Maricopa County Attorney's Office, and the Arizona Attorney General's Office. These agencies work cooperatively and together as a HIDTA task force. The ongoing drug crisis has to be addressed by everyone: law enforcement, prevention, coalitions, public health, treatment professionals, and educators. For the past 3 years, Arizona law enforcement has seized half the fentanyl pills seized in the entire country. Cases such as Operation Double Down demonstrates the power of partners working together to save lives and hold drug trafficking, hold those drug traffickers who are peddling dangerous drugs in our communities accountable. I would personally like to thank Chief Sullivan, Special Agent in Charge Oz, and Attorney General Mays for their leadership and partnership.
I just want to say thank you to our speakers, not just for your words, but for your leadership in this. Before we begin the Q&A portion and the summary of this operation, and before I call up Commander Martos, we're going to allow our leadership to, some of you I know need to return back to work, but I want to thank you all for being here, and on behalf of all the partners involved in this successful operation.
Good morning. Again, I'm Steve Martos. I'm a commander with the Phoenix Police Department's Drug Enforcement Bureau. I'll give you a bit of an overview, and I want to thank all these partners who are here, quite frankly, figureheads. Most importantly, who I'd want to thank are the unsung heroes, the people who are behind the scenes, who never want to take credit, and fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately for us, are willing to go out there and, at their own peril, at their risk of the job that they do, put that aside so that others may not become victims of what we see here today. So I just want to give a quick overview of this investigation, and then I'll certainly take some questions. This investigation began in April of last year. This unit of investigators were completing an unrelated investigation when they came across an individual, a drug trafficking organization. During that time in April, they served a warrant and quickly discovered over 230,000 fentanyl pills, 5 kilos of fentanyl powder, 1.5 kilos of cocaine, 5 AR-15 rifles, 4 additional handguns, and $25,000 in cash. Because of their experience and good old-fashioned detective work, police work, that led them to another case in June in 2024, leading them to understand who are the players and who are the suspects involved in this investigation. In June of 2024, they located a courier who was using his house to dismantle or take apart vehicles in his front yard to take drugs out of hidden compartments. He had purchased a tarp to use as kind of a hidden area, a garage, makeshift garage with this tarp. Thankfully, Mother Nature was on our side. Monsoon hit and rendered that tarp useless. So with that particular individual during a traffic stop, our investigators located 72 pounds of methamphetamine. In July of 2024, we became aware of an individual who was heading south with proceeds, drug proceeds. A vehicle was stopped and he was found to have $93,000 in cash. In August of 2024, our investigators during this course of the investigation became aware of 3 individuals who were crossing the border, our southern border, into Arizona. They were stopped along the way during a traffic stop. 3 females were found to be carrying cocaine strapped to their bodies. A total of 9 kilos of cocaine were seized during that particular stop. Cocaine headed to the Phoenix area. In September of 2024, in a dynamic chain of events, investigators initiated simultaneous apprehensions with 3 co-conspirators. That resulted in a subsequent search warrants and the seizure of over 500,000 suspected fentanyl pills, 192 pounds of methamphetamine, 2 kilos of fentanyl powder, 3 firearms, and 3 vehicles were seized. And one last example I want to give is in November of last year, our investigators observed through physical and electronic surveillance an exchange of illicit drugs between a couple of individuals. 2 criminal apprehensions were conducted. Subsequent search warrants were served at 2 stash houses. Over 800,000 fentanyl pills were seized. $43,000 in cash was located in a hidden compartment in the tail compartment of a passenger truck. The local impact of drug distribution was found to be widespread. So it's coming here to Phoenix as a hub because of our proximity to the border. From here, it is distributed to other parts of the country. The value of the drugs seized, strictly the value of the drugs alone, can range between $4 to $5 million Arizona cost. The further east you travel with this drug, it can double, triple, maybe even quadruple in price. So the work that these investigators have done over the course of this investigation, you just can't say enough about it. So with that, are there any questions that I can maybe answer? Yes, ma'am. Great question. So the question is, if federal funding through grant funding is either stopped or suspended for a period of time, how does it affect these investigations? It does. As many of the folks that came up here before through HIDA or any of the grants that we receive, it really does go to support. Not only are we losing resources from a manpower perspective, but certainly the financial support that comes, that supports these types of investigations can be harmed. So when you look at the amount of drugs and money and guns that were seized in this particular investigation, you start to reduce or suspend some of those monies, that has an effect, a negative effect on the capacity and availability of our detectives and investigators to do what they do.
And was this operation affected in any form or fashion because of interruptions since November?
So the question was if this investigation was interrupted due to suspension. This particular investigation was not. This investigation ran from April of 2024 and completed in November of 2024. So the issues that you're talking about are recent issues within the last month or so.
And if any partnerships involving similar sorts of operations been affected from January 20th?
I can't think of anything at this point that has disrupted it. I will tell you that this partnership is strong. We have worked together with all of these agencies for years, maybe decades. So whether there is that funding or not, we will find a way. We have dedicated investigators, dedicated leaders who will find a way, because we understand that with every seizure that occurs here, we're saving someone out there. So it's important for us to follow through. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that this is an international operation, seizing these drugs, weapons, cash. Where are these drugs coming from specifically? Where is this coming from? Are you able to give a specific location? Is this something that's a border issue?
So the question is where the drug's coming from. So yes, all of these drugs were seized, as we know of, coming from our southern border from Mexico, for sure. So the drugs are coming up from the south and will then be distributed to the rest of the country. We sometimes have money, well, we will have money and guns who then go south across the border. But the drugs that we are seizing, and has been mentioned multiple times, over 50% of all fentanyl that has been seized comes through the Arizona border. Yes, sir. So I have an opinion about that. One is certainly you have to curb the desire for it, for sure. But in addition to that is applying additional resources so that we can stop it from coming. So there's a lot of issues that we see, you know, whether it's China being involved with certain precursors, but we have to do something to stop the flow of drugs coming into the border. So we have to go through the adjudication process, and once a judge clears it for it to be destroyed, that at that point we will do that. Typically, it's through an incinerator. Yes, sir. We'll always say staffing. You know the current staffing issues or crises that we have, not just here in Phoenix, but across the country from a law enforcement perspective. For sure, resources is always going to be an issue and a challenge for us. When you're talking about cartels dealing with a multi-billion-dollar industry where resources for them is very easy to come by, and so we don't necessarily have that luxury. But I will tell you this, that what we do have is dedicated employees who are every morning wake up and this is their desire. I believe the investigators involved in these types of cases, when they're working undercover, working covertly, dealing with cartels, they are certainly at great risk, and yet here we are today with these results. And so, yeah, there's some challenges. We will have to face those challenges one way or the other because we're determined. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so it did happen over the entire valley. I can tell you that there's not necessarily a specific location per se. You can always say that where people are selling drugs out of a house, you can always talk about that. But when you're talking about seizures, these can occur, exchanges can occur in parking lots, random parking lots, it can be in garages. What I would probably advise you and our community is in neighborhoods where individuals might see someone maybe renting a house and there's not maybe a family unit, maybe there's something where the individuals who are residing in a house maybe aren't seen as often, seen infrequently, that might be a potential for someone to call police and say, we don't know what's going on, and maybe police can look into that. I don't know if necessarily it's unique. Certainly we can talk about the great partnerships that we have with our federal and state partners here, for sure. But what I can tell you is not necessarily unique, but that it's ongoing. That we may have our partners in other parts of the valley who are seizing this amount of drugs, but they are not alone and we are not alone. So, yes, sir. Yeah, the Madam Attorney General is the one who will be prosecuting these cases. There are 25 indictments, but I don't want to get into too specifically as to the names at this point because they're still outstanding. Madam,
Don't mean to crash.
no, please.
Okay.
By all means.
Don't want to crash it here, but yeah, we will be doing the prosecutions. We don't want to get into depth on the numbers of individuals, but we will be doing the prosecutions out of my office. I think there was a question about whether the any of the Trump administration executive orders are impacting these kinds of operations. It is true that this one was not impacted, but I want to be clear that President Trump's executive order freezing federal funds absolutely impacted and would have continued to impact operations exactly like this one if I had not, along with my fellow Democratic attorneys general, won a temporary restraining order against President Trump, because that froze all the HIDTA initiatives, okay? And it's why I fought so hard to get a TRO against that. That was the insanity of that executive order, because these operations where my office is working with the FBI, the DEA, the Joint Terrorism Task Force, Phoenix Police Department, Tempe Police Department, is resulting in the seizure of millions of fentanyl pills. And it was absolutely unacceptable to me as the Attorney General of this state that we would see any cessation whatsoever of law enforcement's ability to go out and seize these pills and to protect Arizonans. The other thing I want to say, if you'll allow me, is this. You know, we need more DEA agents in the state of Arizona. Many folks don't know this, but states like New York and Florida have 3 times or more DEA agents than Arizona. That is ridiculous, okay? Ridiculous that Arizona has 3 times less DEA agents than those other states when we are seeing 50% or more of the fentanyl seized in the United States seized right here. So my ask of President Trump is, please bring us more DEA agents. And it is the same ask that I made of President Biden and that should have been made of President Trump before him and President Obama before him. We need more federal resources in the state of Arizona. So I don't know if that answers the question, but sure.
Do you support the new Senate Bill 1111, which would create the bounty for local law enforcement to essentially arrest and deport undocumented immigrants?
Yeah, listen, what I would say about that bill is that if Senator Hoffman and others at the legislature were really doing their jobs, they would support law enforcement in Arizona by increasing funding to the Phoenix Police Department and all of our other police departments in Arizona so that they can raise the salaries of our police officers, so that we can buy the equipment that they need. We have some police departments in Arizona that still have to drive Crown Vics. We saw a police officer who lost his life in Tucson because he was in a Crown Vic that was, I think, at least 20 years old. So, you know, I'm seeing a lot of bills coming out of the legislature that are a lot of words and that are meaningless. What we need for them is to do their jobs and support law enforcement in the state of Arizona by providing real resources to our police officers, to our agents at the Attorney General's office, so that we can save lives and continue to do operations like this one. Yes.
Detailed question. I know you can't say much about the defendants. What can you say about the cartels that are getting
Well, I mean, so this obviously, this along with pretty much every one of the operations that we have done since I've been Attorney General is directly tied to the Mexican drug cartels in Mexico. And so, you know, we obviously have situations in which people are running the operation in Mexico. We have couriers and other distributors in the United States, in Arizona. And then what happens is the drugs are often transported to other parts of the country. And so that's really all I can say about it. But this operation is not very different from other operations that we've done. Yes. Yes, that's true. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not allowed, what? Okay, yeah. I guess, well, do you want to come on? Okay, well, we'll get it, well, if I have to clarify that, we'll clarify that in a second, but. Oh, pending future operations, okay, yeah. We don't have, beyond 25, we don't want to say, okay. Yes. Sorry.
No, please. I guess I would answer it this way. There are some who believe that maybe we've lost the war on drugs. Some that say that maybe we should give up, that maybe we shouldn't continue down this path. I argue I'm the opposite, is because every one of these pills, every one of these packages reflects a life. It reflects a son, a daughter, a brother, a sister. And if we don't continue down this path, then what happens to our society? So the old saying, is a juice worth the squeeze? To me, it is. We may be fighting an uphill battle, but guess what? As long as we partner together, and as long as we have investigators who are willing to put their lives on the line and risk their lives to save others, then I say it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And, you know, look, one of the things that we try to do at the AG's office is take a holistic approach to this. And we do that by, you know, working with physicians and community providers to try to get them opioid settlement money so that they can engage in treatment and detox. This is why I have strongly supported our jail reentry programs that many of our police chiefs and sheriffs are engaged in, where we provide wraparound treatment services for people so that we can reduce the demand for these drugs. But what you're seeing here is success. And it's why I am so passionate about trying to get the federal government to increase the number of DEA agents and to bolster the DEA in Arizona, because we can continue to do this. The good news is that for the first time in a very long time, fentanyl overdoses are down in Arizona. So we have seen success by attacking this in a multifaceted, multi-pronged way. But we have to be able to continue to do these operations and take these deadly drugs off the street, as well as provide treatment for people who need it in our state. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you again, Attorney General, and also Commander Martos. Want to give you guys a few minutes, as far as our media partners here, to get some video and posters of some of the photographs, of some of the seized items. So we'll give you that opportunity to do so. Again, this includes fentanyl pills, powdered fentanyl, cocaine, methamphetamine, and heroin. Keep in mind, I'll be sending out a media advisory to your newsrooms with this information and a link to our newsroom story. Okay, but at this point, this does conclude our news conference for today.